Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where first off, it's time to give away those two amazing prize packages from our friends at Dolby Atmos. Yes, as I said before, I think this is the best prize we've ever given away here on Morning Movie News from Dolby Atmos. And Dolby Atmos, of course, is very proud to have their technology used to do the sound mix for Ant-Man, which hit theaters this weekend. So the rules were you had to tweet me in one sentence with the characters that you had remaining after you included me and hashtag Dolby Atmos in your tweet, what you were most excited to hear in the film, either in an anticipatory sense before you saw it, or once the movie had come out, what you enjoyed listening to in the theater the most. And I actually have one winner from each camp. Before I announce the winners, though, I just want to thank everyone for participating. Not only is this, I think, the best giveaway package that we've ever had here on the show, but I think that the entries were the strongest. It was incredibly hard to pick the winners. So please know that even if you don't hear your name here, you did a great job with your entry, and I certainly had a wonderful time reading everyone's tweets over the last couple of days. All right, so again, I have two of these to give away, and second place goes to BTT viewer Ozzy Gomez. And Ozzy says, at Grace Randolph, hashtag Dolby Atmos, Ant-Man, he quotes from the film, Ant-Man, I'm going to disintegrate you, Siri, as in the iPhone, playing Disintegration by The Cure, all while inside a briefcase. That, I think, was a really inventive moment in the movie in terms of the soundscape, and I thought that as soon as I actually was watching the film, I was like, yep, best use of sound. So kudos to Ozzy. Great job with your entry for this prize package giveaway, and I hope you enjoy yours. By the way, if you're one of the two names called here, check your Twitter account. I've sent you a private message as to how to receive your all these goodies from Dolby Atmos. So who's the winner? Well, again, this was really, really hard, but I think that the winner totally deserves it. So here we go. All right, I gotta sing it. This is from BTT viewer Cindy. So Cindy tweeted, dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and cow goes moo. But there's one sound that hashtag Dolby Atmos knows. I'm a horrible singer. I'm sorry, Cindy. I'm butchering your entry. What does the ant say? At Grace Randolph. Then do 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 do. I can do that part pretty good. But yeah. So fantastic, Cindy. Really clever. Really funny. And I think very fitting for such a clever movie. Though I think many of us felt was the case with Ant-Man. So congratulations, Cindy and Ozzy. Please check your Twitter accounts, and thank you again, everyone, for your entries. Now on to today's morning movie news. We have three stories to discuss. One is me catching up from when I was away, but the first is the Spider-Man writers that were announced at the end of last week. And this is the vacation writing team of John Francis Daley and Jonathan M. Goldstein. The buzz for vacation within the industry is huge. They're convinced in Hollywood that this is going to be a massive hit. We'll see if it actually materializes. I think Ed Helms is really not a very strong box office commodity, but apparently this movie's amazing. We'll see very soon as it hits theaters at the end of the month. But, and as is the way in Hollywood, you land your next gig before your movie comes out, especially if maybe it's not as good as everyone's saying it is. But no matter how Vacation ends up performing at the box office, Daley and Goldstein are golden because they've landed the Spider-Man writing gig. Now, I think this is a very interesting choice on Marvel's part. You have to sometimes wonder if they're trying to sabotage the Sony, third go-around with Spider-Man, being like, we're going to wear you down and get this character back in-house, totally. Because I'm really surprised. I mean, I think as many will point out, the Russo brothers have been a very pleasant surprise, coming from also a comedic background, but doing such a wonderful job, not only with an action movie, but a pretty serious action movie. And of course, I'm talking about Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So maybe Daley and Goldstein can totally pull this off. But when you see, John Hughes' name thrown around for this new Spider-Man movie in 2017, and then you see these writers hired, on the one hand, you're like, wow, you're really betting strongly on the comedy route, especially, I'd have to say, after Ant-Man's disappointing box office over the weekend. That also was a small comedy, right? So you have another movie coming together here that seems like another small comedy. So I would be concerned about that, especially since Spider-Man on the third go-around, I think, has tired a lot of fans. Not only a third go-around, but in such quick succession. I think people want a little bit of a Spider-Man break, but we'll see. Also, while I'm really happy that Tom Holland was the one they picked for the role, Tom Holland doesn't have a lot of comedic experience. So that's another weird choice, that you would take an actor without a comedic background and put him in the middle of a project that's shaping up to be a comedy film, right? I would almost take the young actor who's playing the oldest son in Vacation, who was also on Night at the Museum. He was very funny, he's very good at delivering lines, and he also has a little bit of the Spider-Man build. So I would maybe get someone like that. It's coming together in a very odd way. So hopefully it will work out Guardians of the Galaxy style instead of Ant-Man style. Interestingly, I preferred Ant-Man to Guardians of the Galaxy, but at the end of the day, these movies are, a product, and they're supposed to perform very well at the box office, launch brands, launch merchandising initiatives, launch theme park rides, and Guardians of the Galaxy is far more successful than Ant-Man in that regard. And many people love Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's the first story, and so I'm curious to what you think as you continue to hear new Spider-Man headlines, and what do you think of the way the project is developing? Is this another one where you're just going to have blind faith in Marvel? All right, now for the second story, this is the one I'm catching up on. This is Elodie Yung being cast as Elektra on Season 2 of Daredevil, which is becoming far more comic booky than the first season. And we'll see how that works out. I have tremendous faith in the creative team here. I just discussed last week about having tremendous faith in the X-Men creative team after Days of Future Past, and I feel the same way about Daredevil. I didn't like the ad campaign for Daredevil, as I'm sure you recall, but I thought that the actual show came together really well. And it didn't need to be advertised too well because word of mouth was on fire for that show. And also Netflix has an added benefit in that it costs nothing for people to try it because they're already subscribed to Netflix anyway. Most people are. It's so inexpensive for a monthly membership, especially if you just want streaming. So people are willing to give these shows a shot. And like with Daredevil, I believe are incredibly pleasantly surprised. But still, one of the great things about Daredevil is the quality of the acting. It's not only a really well, written show and has really good action sequences. I feel the directing could use a little bit of work. It's not quite as well directed as some of the other television shows that we're seeing. And there have been some creative changes behind the scenes with the behind the camera team. So that's a little bit scary. And then to see them making so many changes in front of the camera as well, you're like, oh, I hope you can pull this off. Talk about being a daredevil. So what's my problem with Elodie Yung? Well, Elodie Yung is an interesting actress. She was up for the role of Wonder Woman, did not get it, but Zack Snyder doesn't really try and cast great actresses either, right? He goes more for a look, and I feel Elodie Yung has been cast for her look. She certainly looks like Elektra. She looks a lot like Elektra, to the point where you're like, ripped from the pages of the comics. And if you watch her action sequences in G.I. Joe Retaliation, where she played Jinx, complete with red ninja getup, she really does look a lot like Elektra. So if Elektra's going to be a silent but deadly character, as is the way she's often portrayed in the comics, I think that Elodie Yung will be able to pull this off. I think her action sequences aren't amazing. She's not like, for instance, let's say like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. She doesn't have the conviction of her actions. She seems more like a model who's very good at going through the actions and hitting her marks. But Gal Gadot, seems to have overcome that hurdle herself, a model turned actress, and so far so good from what we've seen from Wonder Woman. So I think it's totally, within the realm of possibility that we could be pleasantly surprised here. But I think she's not an exciting casting choice because of her lack of, experience as an actress. And also from what we've seen of her, largely just G.I. Joe Retaliation, not a particularly strong actress. So I think that, as I said in my review of Daredevil, that, Charlie Cox often willed the show to be better than it actually was through the strength of his own performance. I'd hate to see him have to have even more weight put on his shoulders. But we'll see. John Bernthal as the Punisher will certainly do a very good job. But, this was a show that was very realistic in its first season. And I'm curious to see if they can maintain that realism as they get more and more costumed characters on those rooftops. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story, the final story, is Emma Stone, who I find, there was a headline that surfaced toward the end of the week on the Mary Sue, a comic book news website that's based on the female perspective, it focuses on that. And it talked about an interview that Emma Stone had done, I believe in Australia, that showed that some of the recent controversy surrounding Stone isn't really going away. I think to her credit, Emma Stone answered the questions that were asked to her very openly and honestly, but I wonder what it's going to take for Emma Stone to truly get her career back on track. It looked like she was doing really well, coming off of an Oscar nomination, being Woody Allen's muse du jour, but these things seem to have really backfired on her and blown up in her face. So what are the two things? Well, the interview, again, brought up that whitewashing incident of her role in Aloha, which I really do think was really a bad move on her part. And, you know, Emma Stone's response was, oh, it really made me take a strong, hard look at the history of whitewashing in Hollywood. And it's like, you didn't know about it? I think, like, everyone knows about it. Even people who aren't working in Hollywood. And then also how she's often paired these days with much older men. In Magic in the Moonlight, for instance, she starred opposite Colin Firth, and she even admits in the interview that Colin Firth is the age of her father, so that's super creepy. And then also in Irrational Man, she plays opposite Joaquin Phoenix. But that's both films, you know, addressed, you know, it wasn't hidden that they were different ages, the male and female leads. But these are also both Woody Allen films, and Woody Allen has a long history with, you know, huge differences in age with his characters. But I think that these things, you know, Emma Stone was so strong in her career in the beginning because of her appeal to female audiences and her quirkiness and her humor, and really just seeming like an all-around, like, awesome person. I think it's interesting how far she's gotten from that image at this point, right? Like, I feel like she's following in the footsteps of Anne Hathaway, where, you know, being hot and cool are more important to her than being, like, you know, really well liked and successful. It's an interesting, you know, situation to see the, you know, the career path that is clearly what audiences want to see from an actor, and then see them try to pursue something else that is what they have in their, which is the idea of they have themselves in their own head. But I'm curious, what do you think Emma Stone should do to get her career back on track? She's very good in Birdman, so I think that's good. That's to her credit. That's what she got those nominations for last year. I think she should have taken the Ghostbusters gig. She said she turned it down. She said it was offered to her, but she turned it down because she didn't want to do more franchise work after Spider-Man. But I feel that was a mistake, and I feel she needs to get back into big-budget comedies like Easy A. Easy A was her breakout movie, and she desperately needs another Easy A. Or maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you're like, I still love Emma Stone. What are you talking about, Grace? She's amazing. I love all the things she's doing, and I'm still on her, a fan of hers 100%. So I'm very curious to hear what you think, and you think that she can, these problems will go away for her. Often problems do go away for talent, but these, I think it's interesting. I think they're not going away because she's not giving anybody anything else to talk about, right? Like if she made a really good movie that everybody was excited about. All right, so that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please write down below what you think of today's top 3 stories, and then also let me know what you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have as the viewer question returns. Thanks for watching. Bye.